Hello and welcome to Monkey Paper Palooza Craft Corner. Today we are going to continue with part 2 of our watercolor series. And in this one we're going to make the last 4 cards of our 6 cards. So let's get into card number 1. So I colored a bunch of the bears from the set from My Favorite Things called Birthday Bears with my Arteza markers. And if you haven't seen the video on Arteza markers, I'll leave a link above. They're fantastic markers for coloring, as well as watercolor. I did end up using them also on my techniques on how to do a watercolor panel in part 1. Alright, so to start with this card, since I got everything cut out and colored already, I'm going to now put my craft foam onto my panel. And sometimes our tape rollers just balk up. And this one is balking a little bit, so don't mind me as I struggle to get it to work. Alright. So I think I've got enough glue on there now. So I've cut my craft foam to fit perfectly on the back of this. And the Birthday Bears is by My Favorite Things. They're one of my favorite stamp companies. I love their stuff. They're wonderful to color because whenever you get something from them, I have to say the spaces in their designs are very easy to color. That's one thing. Sometimes you get stamps and they get such small little sections, and unless you have a fine coloring marker, it is so hard to get in those itty bitty spots. So I really like these stamps because they have that. And I'll leave a link down below for those. Now I added a panel of Golden Craft to the bottom of that watercolor panel just to make a floor for the bears to sit and stand on. So I'm going to add a bunch of craft foam to these bears and raise them up. So now let me get my adhesive on the back of my panel. Though I did realize after I did put the craft foam on, taping the foam, that I never did put the sentiment in the card. So I almost made a boo-boo and had to do a paper one, but instead I quickly caught myself, and here's a set. So I'm going to put one that came in there that says, have a very special day. After all, this is going to be a birthday card. Isn't that cute? I'll be using a lot of the My Favorite Things stamps, as well as one from Honeybee Stamps. Their stuff, like I said, it's really fun to color. And with the Arteza markers, I was able to color them with no problem. So I'm going to line my panel up. And since I'm not sure whether my ink is dry on the card, I'm going to just flap that flap under for now. That way it's touching the glass mat and not smearing on the other side of the card, while I stick on all my little embellishments. Alright, so we're going to start with the big bear with the presents. And now I'm going to add a little baby bear. I'm going to put some of my Scotch adhesive squares on that. That one lined up. And I did, when I cut out the hats, cut the little bit off the bottom so that it kind of matches up, because I wanted to look like the hats are on them. I mean, I don't mind having a little bit of white around the image, but sometimes when you have an image on top of an image, having that white line in the way sometimes doesn't look like they're wearing the hat. So I always trim it off, and that way it fits perfectly. And just let you know, I did end up fussing cutting these out myself. I did not buy the corresponding dies. I probably will pick them up sooner or later, because I find these bears are going to be really fun for birthday cards. Maybe even Christmas cards too, because I mean, you could make those presents be Christmassy too. So I'm going to put some more adhesive on this other big bear. and the balloons. And I did adhere the balloons together on the bear's hand, so it looks like the bear is holding the balloons. And of course, then I put the craft foam right on top of it, so it'll give it some more reinforcement on top of the glue. Right, so we're going to line this bear up not too close so I can have some room for the other little pieces, including the birthday cake and the birthday cake and the presents. So talking about presents and birthday cakes. Now, I wanted the presents, oops, first I'm going to put the other party hat on this bear. Same way I did with the other little craft foam on the back and then a little adhesive on the bottom. I'm now going to figure out the placement on which I'm going to put these. And I wanted one of the presents to be above and then one under behind the other bear. So it looks like they're staggered. So this one I'm going to put the roller adhesive on. Oops, I changed my mind. I want to do the purple one because I had a little goof on the edge of it. So I was like, this will be perfect. Tuck it under. No, never see it. And then I can do the other bear with some craft foam above it. But I am putting a little adhesive on the back end of the bow so that when it touches the bear, it will stick. And there's those. Now the birthday cake, I want to be a little close to the baby bear. Almost as much as in front of it as I can without covering it up. So I'm going to do the same thing, half craft foam and half adhesive, because that way whatever overlaps over the baby bear will stick to the baby bear. But then I realized the candles had no support, so I'm going to stick a little bit more craft foam underneath those candles. And there we go. I think this is sweet. Little card. Oh, maybe not. There we go. And then I'm not going to put any embellishments on this card. Sometimes when I make cards, I like putting extra embellishments, and sometimes I just don't. Sometimes when you have a lot of graphics and pieces, too much is too much. So I'm just going to keep it really simple. And I'm going to do the same thing kind of with this one. This is the panel I made with the saran wrap. Isn't it really cool how it comes out at the end? It's got a weird, like almost marbled look to it. So for this one, I figured I kind of wanted to make it a space theme. So here I am, I'm going to adhere a bunch of adhesive onto this panel. Oops, and get stuck, of course, to my other craft foam panel that I don't want on right this moment. And this little Space Explorer one is called the Space Explorer. And that is also by My Favorite Things. I'll have a link down below on it. It's a really cute one with a bunch of little astronaut figures. I think they're going to be beautiful for later on for me for Galaxy cards. It's one of the reasons why I got it, because I really do enjoy making the Galaxy cards, and for young kids' birthdays, this is perfect. Because I don't have many cards in my stuff that are kids' birthdays. I have a lot of things that are adult, but not kids. And I think that sometimes I forget kids have birthdays too. You need to make kids' cards. So we are getting into that realm now. So I'm going to put some more Scotch adhesive squares behind this little astronaut. And then kind of puff him up. And I also fussy cut out a bunch of little planets and stars too. And we're going to make a beautiful, almost floating in space scene with these little star balloons. So now that I almost have the foam squares where I want on this astronaut, I'm going to start pulling off backs. I've been really enjoying making these videos actually in series, I feel that I don't have to rush it as much or speed things up as much, and it's kind of more easier for me to show you all the little details that you're going to entail when you do this. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm going to try to keep my videos within the 30-minute range, if not less. But like I said, the next Hero Arts one is going to end up being 3 series long. And I just realized I forgot to put a little adhesive underneath his arm. So I'm going to tuck some underneath there and just trim it down. And they're all fixed. But like I said, we're going to be doing these in series. I feel like everybody's right. The videos are too long. And speeding them up just does not work for anybody watching them. And actually getting the concept of what we're doing when we make these cards. And I kind of think maybe doing 3 weeks of Hero Arts would be really fun. Because honestly, their kits are awesome. They deserve more time. As well as doing these kind of videos. But I also know you guys really enjoy the Hero Art Kit ones. So we will be doing those, like I said, in series of 3s. Intro. And then we'll go into the cards separate. So I put some craft foam on some of these planets, and the others I'm going to lay flat with just adhesive because I want them to have different dimensions. And after all, some planets are closer to others and some are further back. So I figured, why not? And then I just was looking at this and I realized the one I just put flat would probably look better puffed up. So we're going to puff it up with some more craft tape. So that way it's kind of balanced. When I was coloring these, my son said, "Mom, you should make them realistic." I said, "It's for a card, buddy. It doesn't have to be perfect." I said, "And plus the bright colors would really brighten up this card." He goes, "That's true." He really thought this one was fun too. He liked it. So we are going to add some more craft foam to the other ones. I really like how this card came out, really. I honestly do, because it does look almost like the galaxy behind him. Almost like the Milky Way, like he's soaring through the Milky Way. Now I also cut out the little stars that came with the kit too, and I'm going to add those to it. The bigger ones I'm going to try putting some craft foam behind, but the smaller ones are going to just plain adhesive. And once again, I'm going to end up keeping this one as simple as I can because I don't want to add too much to this card. And there we go. Isn't that fun? But of course, like all our black card forms, we have to add our sentiment on a separate piece of paper. And there's that full kit. And that's the Space Explorer kit. I just got these in and I was like, I should do a card with them just to show them off to you guys. But if you love coloring with Copics or any medium, I would recommend those stamps. I mean, they're big. I mean, I've tried it with the Hero Art ones, and I feel like sometimes the Hero Art ones can be a little small. And the details are so fine, which is great. They're beautiful. But sometimes when you're trying to get in there with a little Copic tip or a marker tip, it's just like you really need a fine line tip just to get in there. And for some of us, we just don't have those. So I stamped Have a Blast and the Paris Dusk on this white piece of paper. And now I'm going to get ready to adhere it inside my card. And then that will make card number 2. Yep, beautiful. I do. I really love the details in that background. And then the details in the stamping. It looks like swirls in the Milky Way. Alright, so for card number 3, I am bringing out the stamp by Honeybee Stamps. It's called Forest Friends. It is a sweet little mini set, and it is so cute. But the sentiment on the top, on the side, is super big, and it's very wonderful. A lot of her sentiments are they're mix and match on on these kits. This one is not so much because it's a full saying, but it goes a whole length of a panel of a card, which is fantastic. So I'm going to stamp that in Tuxedo Black right on the top. And it says, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Really nice little saying. I'm just going to make sure I got that little fine dot. There we go. And I'm doing this on top of that splatter panel we made in video 1. And as you see, you can see all the fun splatters in the background. As it dried, it darkened a little. So I'm going to put this on a golden craft, or what they call it, goldenrod panel. And I'm going to adhere my craft foam to the back of this panel. Get that all set. And since this panel didn't have as much water, I'm not concerned about adding too much adhesive, though I think I will coat it pretty well, just to make sure everything stays flat. So there is that. And now let me get the sentiment inside the card before we do anything else. And I chose the one that also came with this kit. It says, thank you for your kindness. And like some of this, I have to say, sometimes smaller sentiment lines, they're harder to straighten sometimes. And for some reason today, I was just having a hard time getting it straight. So sometimes it's hard when I'm recording to do it on screen. So I think I'm going to end up, if I can't get it straight this time, I'm going to take it off screen, straighten it where I can put my head right over the grids and make sure it's visually straight. And I did. So it is now straight and ready to go. So I'm going to do that in the same black tuxedo ink. That way it corresponds with what's going on in the front. So for this kit, I had the matching dies. So I ended up cutting them all out with their dies. So I'm going to adhere my panel to the back, the front of this card to start with. And then we are going to add the little elements from Honeybee Stamps. Now, have you ever had those moments where you cannot put a panel on your card straight? Well, I just did. And after I pushed it down, I was like, that is the crookedest panel I've ever applied in my life. Luckily, this glue does give me a little time to pull it off before it fully adheres. If I had let it stick a little longer, it might not have popped up so easy and would have teared the card, but luckily I hadn't pressed it down hard enough that it stayed permanently. So we're going to put some foam adhesive behind this animal figures. I have to say, Honeybee Stamps is another one of my favorites. I love Hero Arts. I love My Favorite Things. And I think Honeybee Stamps is a close third. And then, of course, I love the Clearly Besotted too. Theirs are also very fun to color because, like I said, once again, the spaces are very well sized for coloring. Sometimes the honeybee can be a little small, especially the finer details, but I feel like this one wasn't as bad. I mean, there was a couple little spots, but all right. And then we're gonna put a little bit more, some tiny spots and little spots that hang over a little bit. Trying to get this adhesive off. And there we go. Now I'm going to apply these to the corner here of the card. That way it has lots of nice space. Plus it kind of balances the sentiment that's on the top. So I also cut out a bunch of little hearts and acorns. And I'm going to take my Zig two-way glue pen and I'm going to just add a bunch of dots. I was always a multi-medium person and I have just fallen in love with this glue pen. Though I am curious to actually get some more glue pens, I want to try and compare them and show what pens would be good for you for certain projects. So far I like this one because of the color. It makes it, for putting embellishments on, it's fantastic. Because honestly, you can see where you put it. I mean, it's bright blue. Sometimes white on white, I couldn't see the glue as well. But this really shows it well. And I like the fact that I can actually draw like a little heart shape and put the heart on top of it. It does not have to be just a circle. It can be whatever. I can make it bigger, smaller, whatever size I want. And it's not super hard. I did find it does sometimes clog around the ball point. But if you rub it on a cloth, wet cloth, it comes back to life. I even forgot the cap one day and I was going, oh gosh, if I didn't lose all my glue. And it actually didn't. It just clogged up, like I said, on the tip a little bit, and I just put it on a wet cloth, and it came right back to life. So it's pretty versatile. I'm liking it so far. It seems to hold the embellishments really well too, which I was surprised because I was like, it's liquid glue. It may not hold as well. And it actually is pretty sturdy. I think probably it's comparable with Ranger. The only thing I really wish Ranger had with theirs was a better tip. Because they have the tip bottle, but it's not a fine tip, it's a very bulky tip, so it made it kind of hard, so I had to buy a precision tip bottle to use it. Alright, so I got all the little hearts and acorns on, and now I wanted to bring in a little bit more pizzazz to this card. So I'm going to take some of the Aurora Borealis pearls I have in the shop. The first one I'm going to use is the berry. And it's a beautiful, almost dark magenta. It's really nice. Oops, except it's jumping away from me. And it has that beautiful Aurora Borealis sheen to it. A lot of these have sold out in the shop in colors. They've become very popular, but not to worry, more are on the way. That and also the sunflowers, they're on their way. They are on order. They should be here between anytime this month to next month, depending on how much they get backed order for them too. But we're also going to be bringing in some more rhinestones and other things coming too into the shop, so keep an eye on that. Because I understand we all love embellishments, and when I see a beautiful embellishment, I want it. So I also want to bring some of it to you. Now I'm also adding some of the rose ones. These are a nice, beautiful, light, almost pink one, and they're just pretty also. Look at that. And all of these are in 4mm. I do have some of the greens in 6. I didn't get much in the 6mm because I sometimes find 6mm to be a little big. I find the 4 and 3 are the best. There, let me bring that up to detail for you so you can see that sheen on those little pearls. And there's card number 3. Now last, for card number 4, I am using another stamp set, and that is Magical Dragon. That is also by My Favorite Things. This one's I had a little bit longer. As you can see, it's already been filed. but I'm going to end up using that beautiful panel we did with the paper towel, doing the paint lifting with that paper towel. And like I said, it makes kind of a cloudy scene, which is often very fun. So I'm going to add a bunch of adhesive to the back of this. And sadly, I also put some on the foam. I was ahead of myself. I was putting it on the foam instead of the card panel. And then, of course, apparently I can't stick anything straight because once again, I've done something crooked. But luckily, we can lift it off. It's just a craft foam. If it gets a little wrinkled, it's not a big deal. I'm going to try to line this straighter. And if I'm off a little, I'll just cut it. Yep, I'm a little off. There we go. So we have this wonderful dragon, once again colored by with Arteza markers. And I also have the little clouds that came in the kit also. So I believe this is the Bahama Blue, I am putting, or actually not Bahama Blue, this is Paris Dusk. I'm putting the Get Well Soon. So I'm going to add a bunch of craft foam to the back of this dragon. And then we are going to put him aside. And I also want to put some on the little puffs of smoke that are coming out of his mouth. Because this one is going to be, of course, a Get Well card. And I want, instead of him blowing fire, that his fire is out and he's not feeling so well. So we are going to get that all set up. And some of them I'm going to put on foam tape and others I am not. Because like the birthday gifts, I want to stagger them. So that should be dry now. So now I should be able to line up the panel onto the front of the card. Alright, so I got the panel on there. Sorry about the glitch there. Now I'm going to take off the adhesive on the top part of that and put the little dragon on. And then I'm going to peel off the adhesive back for these puffs of smoke. But I realized I wanted to put some on the other puff also. So I'm going to quickly add some to that. So there's one puff of smoke. And let me add this second puff. And I'm just going to put adhesive on that one. Then I got the one that is raised up. As well as the raised up big one. Then I have one more puff of smoke. And I'm going to add it right there. So for the top sentiment for this card, I'm going to take another sentiment from this kit. And I'm going to emboss it in the silver glitter embossing powder from Hero Arts. And I'm going to put in the words, I heard you were dragon. All right. Get that off there. All right, then we're going to heat set that and then cut it. And I'm now going to take that out of the way. So I have this cut sentiment now on the black cardstock. And I'm going to add some foam adhesive Scotch squares on the back of this little flag. And it's almost done. And this is another one I'm not putting any extra embellishments on because I really think the backdrop with the beautiful colored image is enough. Sometimes simple cards are just as much fun as putting a bunch of embellishments. And there is that one. Isn't that beautiful? That panel with the clouds in the background. Perfect get well card. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out the last upload. That would be the part 1 of the series, as well as one specially curated for you. And like always, we invite you to click on this link, subscribe, click notifications, as well as check out our newsletter. Sign up for that so you get all the deals and sales.